Hello, this is Edith Newmeyer, and I'm the author of the book, The Mystery of Adam. Well, I want to continue to talk about the Noahide Laws. And I really think that I'm glad about all the information that we are receiving about the Noahide Laws, but as I said before, I think the Noahide Laws are just a distraction from the problem that is much deeper. So the Noahide Laws are a part of Judaism, and it's a part that is trying to keep Gentiles subordinate to the Jews. We have a lot of Christians nowadays that would like to follow Judaism, lots of Christians, and the Jews do not want them to be equal members of Judaism. So they came up with these Noahide laws. So now they're putting all the Gentiles under these Noahide laws. Well, the ones that want to convert to Judaism. And they want it to acknowledged by the U.S. government as part of a religion or Judaism. So they have brought these Noahide laws to the attention of the government and the presidents under this Education Sharing Day, which actually was established to recognize and to honor this famous Rabbi Schneerson, who already died, but it's in honor of this rabbi. And of course, under this Education Sharing Day, they of course introduced the Noahide Law, saying that all Gentiles should abide by these Noahide laws. And our presidents, they acknowledge that. Why? Because they have to acknowledge all religions. It's just the way it is. You have to acknowledge all religions. And there's nothing wrong. However, we are still protected under the First Amendment in the section of freedom of religion. And they cannot at this point definitely put these Noahide laws on every citizen of the United States. And especially they cannot push it through the UN unless the US will accept the Noahide laws. So this is very important to understand. Very, very important. Because these Noahide laws are really not a threat right now. But there is something else, a very strong threat, which comes out of Judaism, which comes out of Israel, and which comes out of Zionism. And that is this push to punish anybody who is considered an anti-Semite. I would think that is far more a threat right now than the Noahide laws. The Noahide laws, I believe, are only a distraction. I mean, an absolute distraction. Okay? So we can talk and we can have the Christians focus on these Noahide laws because, of course, we're going to scare them to death that their head is going to be cut off. So they don't worry about anything else. Hey, they're just focused on their Noahide laws. And as long as we have them focusing on these Noahide laws, they're not going to inform themselves about anything else. But what else is happening? Well, the fact is that we had Zionists totally take over well, I shouldn't say totally take over, but I think we're more into Zionists running our government than ever, especially with Trump being our president and who totally supports Judaism and Israel. So we have a lot more Zionist influence or Israel influence on our government. Now, I'm not saying that they're the only influence. There are just as many Jesuits probably running our government than Zionists. But it doesn't matter because Zionists and Jesuits, they are two sides of the same coin anyways. They're all working for the beast. And you know that I believe that papacy is the beast. Okay? And they're both working for papacy. And so now somebody's going to say, what? They're two opposing things, Judaism and Christianity. Well, not really, not really. Yes, they look on the outside like they're opposing, but really behind the scene, they have the same goal. And that goal is to destroy every true believer. And that's really the bottom line. They want to destroy every true believer. They want to not only destroy every true believer, but they want to deceive every true believer. If they kill them, plainly just kill them, that is not something that really they're interested in. They want them to be deceived. And of course, these Noahide laws are being used to deceive people. This push for Judaism, and Judaism is necessary, and Judaism is helping us understand God's plan, is absolutely a deception, because Judaism is not showing us God's plan. In the opposite, it is leading us from God's plan. Judaism never accepted Messiah and has always rejected Messiah. And really, Judaism will never, 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 never accept Messiah. There is not going to be all of a sudden a change that Judaism will accept Messiah. It will never happen. Now, there will be people or Jews that will leave Judaism and become believers in Messiah. And then they have to acknowledge that they have to actually become Christians. Okay? And I'm not talking about people of any of the Christian denominations. I'm just talking about believers in Messiah. And they have to get away from Judaism. They have to acknowledge that Judaism is a man-made religion. So, but I am need to go back to the Noahide law and the threat, the deeper threat behind the Noahide law. Okay? So there is really a plan for Zionism to take over, really, or influence the government of the United States. It's been happening, for a long time, probably, who knows, since the First World War, and even before that. So right now, we just are in a very crucial time, and if we're not careful, we are really going to be affected by Zionists who will take over our government. We already have a president, like I said, who is in favor of Israel, strongly in favor of Israel. And recently, what is happening is that Trump has been very heavily trying to punish people that are anti-Semites, that do anything against the Jews, Judaism, or Israel. Okay? So anybody who is attacking or hurting any one of them are now considered Semites. I listened to an interview not too long ago about Netanyahu, and they were talking about supposed rise of anti-Semitism in Europe. And Netanyahu believed that that wasn't as bad as this, what he puts it, hate against Israel. Okay, so what he is doing is putting Israel now under anti-Semitism. Anybody who is against Israel, who criticizes Israel, is already an anti-Semite. So that is very important to remember, that now we are an anti-Semite not only if we question the Jews, if we criticize the Jews, if we criticize the Holocaust, because that's also considered anti-Semitism. Anybody who criticizes the Holocaust. Now we are including anybody who criticizes Israel is considered an anti-Semite. So, at this point, Israel and the Jews are 200% protected. And America, the United States, and our President Trump is now coming hard down on anybody who criticizes Israel, the Jews, or Judaism. Now, how do we see that? Well, just recently, we have Ireland boycotting Israel for the crimes they commit against Palestine. I put a video on my Facebook group page called The Mysteries and Conspiracies, which help understand Bible prophecies. And it is a video about Israel intentionally shot children and journalists. So you may want to watch this very carefully. U.S. attacks Ireland. This is a video that a guy called The Last American Vagabond was posting just recently. And this is a big topic right now, that the U.S. wants to sanction Ireland for boycotting Israel because of their war crimes. In a sense, they're not even war crimes, okay? It is kind of war crime, what they're doing to the Palestinians. But it seems like in the United States, whatever Israel does is protected. Nobody says anything about Israel. They can attack Syria, and nobody cares about it. Israel basically, and Netanyahu can do anything he wants, and he is not held accountable. And so Ireland is now speaking out and saying, we're not going to have part in that. So this is a good video to watch, which shows you that the United States is already attacking people or other countries that call themselves, or that they are deemed, or that the United States think they are acting anti-Semitic. Well, what do you think the United States is doing to their own citizen? We have already heard that Texas has a law now that prevents some people, if they want to work for the government, they have to pledge that they will not do anything that would harm Israel. Okay? So boycotting Israel, you're pledging you're not going to boycott Israel. Okay? So yes, we already have these kinds of laws put in action, and we have to be really, really careful and watch what other laws the United States will sign in. I heard from somebody, and she didn't give me, I think it was a viewer, that Israel put, not that the United States put something in place right after, the government shut down. I think the first law they approved was something that had to do with anti-Semitism or Israel. Okay, so she didn't tell me, or he, what kind of law it is, because I would like to really, really know. If you know anything about this law that supposedly our federal government put in place, or actually Trump signed, or the Congress signed, about saying anything against Israel or the Jews, please let me know. I think that is a much stronger threat at this point that will affect us, that will affect every person here in the United States. Okay, we should have freedom of speech. We have the right to freedom of speech. Now, I don't believe in hate speeches against any people groups, none whatsoever. I don't believe that any race is superior to any other race. I think we're all equal before God. And I really believe that the United States needs to protect any people group that is being discriminated against. There is definitely no doubt. However, that should not hinder us from criticizing people or countries that are doing things wrong, that are blatantly going and killing other people, whether that is the United States, and I will criticize the United States for the crimes, for instance, in Yemen. I will criticize the United States for their involvement in Venezuela. I definitely do not agree with that. I criticize, the United States for getting into Syria and meddling with the government in Syria. That's our right. Now, if I commit a hate crime against anybody in the United States, that should be punished. There's no doubt. But freedom of speech is not a hate crime. So criticizing another country because they're doing something wrong is not a hate crime. Now let me talk a little bit. If I don't expect, or if I don't like other people to criticize me, or subordinate, me, or put down me, then I do not have the right to do that to other people. But yet I see the same thing, that they are, what they don't want other people to do to them, they actually do it themselves. And I'm talking about Israel. I'm talking about Judaism. Because the Israel and Judaism are very, very closely linked, okay? It's not like in the United States, where we have all kinds of religions and people can choose. Well, when we look at Israel, their religion, their state religion is Judaism. Yes, people, 80% are not even Jews. They're not Jewish. But yet they claim that their religion is Judaism. So then if they're coming and they're saying that their religion is better than everybody else's religion, and they are a special group because God chose them, they are better than the Gentiles, and they don't want to have equal standing with the Gentiles, not even in their own religion. So in other words, they don't even accept everybody in their religion. They have to create a sub-religion. So the Gentiles will continue to be subjugated. Then for me, that is a hate crime, a lot worse than anybody out there would do who is criticizing Israel. If I want other people to respect me fully as equals, I'm going to have to respect them the same way. Okay? I cannot tell everybody that I have special privileges from God. Okay? I cannot do that. I have to respect everybody. But what Israel is doing and what Judaism is doing, they're subjugating everybody in the world, and they're making them or put themselves over everybody else. Okay? They think they have a special privilege in this world. And as long as people are not realizing that, okay, they will be deceived. And yes, there is a chance that we will be subjugated, and we will be put under maybe the Noahide Law. Okay, eventually. Right now, we have other battles to attack. We have to become aware of the influence of Zionism and Judaism on the government of the United States and the world, really. Okay? We have to become aware. Because if we don't, we have a serious, serious problem on our hands. And we should not be waiting until they implement Noahide Law. Okay? There are far more serious things going on right now than the Noahide Laws. Far more serious. If I can be prosecuted and thrown in jail because I question Israel, that is far more dangerous, okay, than any Noahide Law. Far more dangerous. And people have to become aware of that. Now, I know there's people speaking out. There's lots of people speaking out. Okay? There is actually another person, and I don't totally, he's a Christian. What's his name? Something with new use, or what is it? True News. I think it's called True News. And I sometimes listen to him, and somebody actually advised him. I already listened to the guy. True News. The problem I have with him, he does a lot of very good gives very good political information. However, I don't agree with his, it's True News. Okay. But I don't agree with his end time thinking because he is stuck. He is stuck in this dispensationalism and this thinking, this false thinking about the Antichrist, this Antichrist that will come during the tribulation, which is totally false. So this guy really doesn't. I think his name is Rick. I don't remember. But anyways, you can look him. You can look it up. It's called True News. And then there's another guy called Adam Green, and there's another one called what's his name? Blackstone intelligence. They're pretty much telling you a lot of information about Israel and Zionism as well. Matter of fact, there's a lot of people out there speaking out and are making people aware of what's really going on. Okay, so if you're still worried about the Noahide Law, I really recommend that you broaden your perspective, okay, and see what's really happening today. I will finish up by saying that much, and I know that probably can get in trouble for that, but I will say it anyways. Hitler, and I'm not a Hitler supporter, believe me that. I'm just telling you here's some history lessons right now. Hitler realized what the Zionists were doing to Germany. Okay? He knew the threat of the Zionists, especially the communist Zionists that were trying to take over Germany after the First World War. And he saw that as a very, very, very severe threat. He realized that lots of Jews were already meddling in politics, finances, the media. So basically the same thing that's happening in the United States today. And he realized that, and he wanted to get rid, of the Jews. Now when people say get rid of the Jews, people always say this, what they believe, the final solution of Hitler. You know, I don't know. Again, I do not agree with what Hitler did, especially not to the Jews, not at all. But I know that Hitler knew about this threat, and he reacted towards this threat. See, when you do some research, some historical research about Zionism during the Third Reich, you will find out that the Jews or the Zionists actually started the war against Hitler. So you may say, in what way? Well, because they boycotted Germany. They boycotted Hitler during the Third Reich. Because of that, Hitler reacted and did the Kristallnacht, which is the night of the crystals or whatever it's called, when they burned all the synagogues. So this whole thing just kind of escalated. At first, Hitler was really working with the Zionists to get all the Jews into Palestine. But the Zionists were only interested in the rich and the educated. They didn't care about the rest of the Jews. And so Hitler had to come up with a different plan. He already had them, rounded up and, in concentration camps. But the Zionists, they didn't care about the ordinary Jews. They didn't want those people in Palestine, I guess. And that's my assumption, of course. But nevertheless, it happened. So, what I'm trying to say is what happened during the Third Reich maybe is happening again today. And what do we know? We know that history repeats itself because the people are not aware historically what happened, and we forget so fast all the things that happened a generation ago. That's just the way it is. So I do not want history to repeat itself when it comes to the Jews, not at all. But it is my fear that it may repeat itself. And that is something that I want to avoid. Well, of course, I can't avoid it, right? I am a single person, and it just cannot avoid, history to unfold like it's supposed to be unfolding. But it may happen again. the end result of all this stuff that happened during the Third Reich was, of course, that a lot of Jews died, a lot of Germans died. I mean, millions of Jews, millions of Germans, not a lot more Germans than the Jews died during, the wars. And so nobody wants that to happen again. It wasn't a good thing. But it happened because people were not aware of what was going on. During those days, they didn't even have, most people didn't even have a radio or, of course, not even a television during that time. And so information was very limited. Now, today we have information. And if we open up our minds and inform ourselves, I'm hoping that maybe all these things can be prevented. But of course, we know from prophecy that most likely these things will not be prevented. And therefore, I really believe very strongly that the wrath of God is at hand. I think we, not just the United States, but all over the world, we are living in very, very corrupt times. Yeah, in times of Sodom and Gomorrah. There is no doubt. All of the Western world is living in Sodom and Gomorrah. And look at Israel. They are not any different. They live in Sodom and Gomorrah. Matter of fact, even Jesus called it, I don't know, the Bible for sure said Sodom and Gomorrah where our Lord was crucified. So Jerusalem is Sodom and considered Sodom and Gomorrah. So we're all moving towards this wrath of God. I believe we all do. And so that's something we need to think about. We need to prevent these things from happening again. What happened in Germany with the Holocaust. But in the war that happened in Germany, we need to, or in Europe, the Second World War, but there's so many things that we need to wake up before it is too late. And I almost have a feeling that it's almost too late, okay? What's going on in the world. I mean, so many people are blind. What is happening in our politics, okay? They're so blind. They do not see that our politicians are just puppets. They don't understand that it doesn't matter whether we have Trump or Hillary Clinton. It's the same thing, the very same thing, okay? They don't want to see that. They don't see that these governments are only puppets of the beast system, puppets of Satan. But I want to finish up today, and I want you to consider these things, and I want you to do research. Do lots of research. Be informed. Be informed what's really going on out there in this world. I sometimes have a feeling that when you watch only Christian news, that sometimes false teachings are coming in. Like this last American vagabond, he is not a Christian. He doesn't ever talk about Christian things. But he gives you clear information without it being muddled. But anyways, I want to finish up. My time is up. Do some research. Let the Holy Spirit really guide you. These are important things that are going to happen. Now, if you're saved and if you belong to Jesus, you don't have to worry, because I'll tell you right now, the rapture will happen soon. And it will happen before the wrath of God will start. So, here's our blessed hope. Maranatha.